I'm very nervous. I'm just saying it ahead of time. Okay. First of all, thank you, Shadi and Jakob, for inviting me to speak. It's a big honor to be here, and you guys do incredible work, and it really is a privilege. So, and I just wanted to say that the fact that you showed up tonight for your kids, the way that you have, I know there's 2 other engagements, and everyone is busy, and everyone has kids, already speaks volumes about you as parents, so I just want to put it out there. So, I don't like reading from a paper, like I like just talking and then trying to refer back, so if I don't make sense, that's why. So when I was asked to speak tonight, I was initially very, very conflicted, and I was very hesitant because I felt like a bit of an imposter, like I had a bit of imposter syndrome, like I am gonna sit in, a room, well, I thought full of women, with this, and it's good. So, and speak to them. These parents of teenagers who are dealing with so many struggles that I can't possibly begin to understand. And despite what it feels like most of the time, I don't actually have teenagers. My kids are like 2 to 8, and I'm so scared for the future. Like I really take my hat off to you guys, because it's not an easy job, and it just gets harder apparently. So anyway, so then I thought to myself. So at first I was very hesitant, and I felt like, who am I to sit in front of these parents, and what can I share of value? And then I thought to myself, I had another thought. So I had another thought. So my thought was, what if I could share my own personal story and the challenges that I faced, but share what helped me through? Because very often we hear these survival stories of like teenagers who have had it, so rough, and like they went against all odds, and they, were like meant to come out so messed up, and they like became this incredible person, and and like they were like horribly treated by their parents, or and like there's a lot of those types of stories. But what about the stories where like the parents actually did do something right because of however they brought me up? I somehow managed to come back to Hashem, and so I'm going to begin my journey, and then you'll kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. And I also just wanted to say that anything that I say tonight, I think every parent knows. I think that sometimes you just have to hear it from another perspective for it to really resonate. But I really think we all have it in us, and Okay, so a little bit about my story. So I grew up I was born in Israel, and we moved to South Africa when I was 3. My parents were offered it's a little bit of a mix-up. I grew up in South Africa, and my parents were invited to South Africa to start a shul there. And very, very quickly, my parents got involved in Kiruv and were changing lives left, right, and center. They were unbelievable people, and my home was always full of happiness and warmth and encouragement, and just allowing people to just feel safe and comfortable and not judged. And that's really the home that I grew up in. We had tons of Shabbos guests and Torah, and it was really, really beautiful. My parents were absolute best friends, and it was, I was very, very privileged. When I was 5 years old, I woke up one morning and there was screaming, and I had no idea what was going on. I went out, I was like all grumpy, there was a million people in my house, I didn't know what was going on. And I saw my mom on the couch, so I went over and I asked her what happened, and she lost it. And she told me that my father, who was 28 at the time, just passed away in his sleep out of nowhere. Totally randomly, like out of nowhere. Healthy 28-year-old father of 4, and he just didn't wake up. And I remember feeling at that time, I was only 5, and I actually remember feeling like the ground beneath me was crumbling. Like I felt my stability and my foundation was like completely destroyed. And a lot of my upbringing I actually blocked out and occasionally remember, but there was a lot of ups and there was a lot of downs, and I had a very, very, very hard time with my dad. Like he was, I mean, I look at my kids now, like my husband is the most incredible father and husband, and like I see my kids were, like I was their age, and my husband has a massive impact on my daughter, so it makes sense that like I had a very, very tough time. Anyway, 2 years after my dad passed away, it was a huge shock to the South African community. My father's name was Gabriel Platsko, and he there's always someone in like the audience who's like, oh, Platsko, I know the name. So yeah, so he was. He was 28 when he passed away. He left such.
Wow.
He changed the world when he. I mean, it's like a very high standard that we're like trying to. Yeah. So he actually went into Kiruv after my dad passed away because he wanted to continue the legacy. Yeah, my uncle, and he's also done unbelievable work. But if you hear him speak, he's like. I hope one day I have the impact that, you know, my brother did, and I'm sure he has, but like my father really, really had an unbelievably huge impact on people. So I grew up hearing stories about him, and thank God I was very blessed that he had impacted so many people, so people were always telling us things that had happened, or things that, you know. Anyway, I was really angry, I was confused, I was scared, I was unstable, it was like my whole world had collapsed. So 2 years afterwards, I don't remember really those 2 years. 2 years afterwards, we decided to move to America. My mom wanted to be near her family and near my late dad's family. So we packed up and my mom moved us all, and she was incredible. She somehow managed to keep a loving, caring, like supportive home. She had this has this incredible way of like just making us feel like we're the most important thing. And my parents had a very, very unusual relationship. They were really best friends. Like they really, really were. Like they didn't even they just kind of like, I mean, Yaakov can attest to this because he was actually in the hospital. My dad was having his the surgery.
He had appendix taken out.
Right, he had his appendix taken.
We both had it out. Yeah.
They were in the hospital next to each other, Yaakov and my dad.
Wow.
And then my mom went up to the loudspeaker and asked my dad if he would marry her, and Yaakov was in the room. So we really do go back quite a long time. So we moved to America, and again, there was a lot of ups, a lot of downs. And when my mom started dating again, I was furious. Now, I'm the type of person that speaks my mind, and I'm not shy, and I gave her a very hard time about it. I would stay up late at night, like waiting for her on the couch, and then like guilt her like crazy when she got home after you leave your kids and I don't know. I mean, I was like, yeah, and also just I tried sabotaging every relationship she had. Like I remember I told one guy like he had like a stone cold heart. I was like, it was tough for her to date with us. So one day, somebody that used to come to us for Shabbat when my father was alive, anyway, he had a broken engagement, and my mother wanted to meet with him because she had a lot of single friends. She thought, okay, like maybe I'll sit with him and, you know, maybe I'll set him up with someone. And they went out, and sure enough, they liked each other, and they started, and they ended up, they started dating, and it was like quite a quick process. And I remember the first time I met him, I was 10, and he came over, and he's like, hi, I'm Paul, and I had seen an email that he sent to my mother saying like, hi, sweetie, and I was like, Amichali, don't ever call my mother sweetie again, and like I walked away. Like I was so uninterested in like, and I was like adamant like that if I made it difficult enough, that like it wasn't gonna happen. Anyway, thank God, over time, I really got to see what an incredible father, my stepfather is. Really, he's just an absolute tzaddik, and adopted us. It was funny when we went to the adopting agency. He's like, you know, I want to adopt these 4 kids. My brother's like, there's one of you and 4 of us. We should be like adopting you. and he really took us in as his kids. Like he really is an unbelievable person. Anyway, so I'm not going to say what, because it's a little like it's not for me to share, but something else very big happened when I was 13 that really, really rocked my family. Someone that was, you know, close with us had gotten like sick, and it was just, it really, again, was like, you know, another thing. And it just was like, it just felt like sometimes it didn't stop. Like the, you know, me moving back and forth to America and to South Africa, and like it was a lot. And I had very, very low confidence, very, very low. And at 13, I realized that boys had started taking an interest in me, and I was very flattered by it. And again, I was very young and very insecure, and so it started with hanging out with boys. And this is in South Africa. So we're still living. I missed that part. Sorry. So he was South African, my stepdad. So we moved back to South Africa. And we started all over again. And so where was I?
Started hanging with boys.
Right. Oh, so I started hanging out with boys, and then went to you know, like I started like dressing like not super tsanua, and then went to like, you know, wearing pants, and one thing led to the next, and eventually I dropped everything. I didn't keep Shabbos anymore, I didn't keep kosher anymore. Now, keep in mind, like, I grew up in a frum family. I was surrounded by frum people, so this was like, you know, it was me really trying to assert my individuality and my independence and say, like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I also was lying about everything, because I felt like it was smarter and safer to lie and risk getting caught and being punished than telling the truth and being punished either way. So I just lied about everything. Now, I did have conversations like with my parents, and they always maintained communication. But just for me, I was like, whatever they don't know, like, won't hurt them. So I, you know, but it was interesting. My relationship with Judaism, I always felt like I had a relationship with Hashem, always, throughout. And I had some really dark times, and I always felt like Hashem was there. And I never felt resentful of Yiddishkeit, because I thought it was wrong. And I thought it was extreme. I felt resentful because I saw it as an obstacle blocking me from doing whatever I wanted to do. So like, I was annoyed that it was restrictive, but I didn't have a negative association with it. So I always knew that I wanted some sort of connection. I just didn't know how to attain it. And because I was trying everything and doing everything, so like I felt like I'm never going to be forgiven for this. Like, Hashem's never going to be like, I knew he was there, but like, it's way too late to like, you know? Anyway, so when I was 17, so that it was years of just kind of, you know, not being very religious. Okay, so when I was 17, I went to Shul on Shabbos, and, so I think I was 16, and I was sitting on my principal's desk. Now my principal, her name is Rebecca Sarki, she's the principal of Torah Academy in South Africa. She is a malach, like an actual, she's an incredible person. So she was my principal, and we were very close, and we still are, even though she really did want to kick me out of the school like multiple times. I remember like every time like I get called into my dad's office or my principal's office, I would stand like either on the porch or outside my dad's office and like say a prayer to him, because I knew I was about to get into massive trouble. But like I was like, Hashem, you gotta help me here. Like you need to figure this out for me. So I was very, very close with her. And she said to me one day, she said she knew some of what I was doing, not most of it, but enough that, you know, she realized there was a problem. So she called me in and she said, I want you to not think, and I want you to just answer. Where do you want to be in 5 years? So, as if I was literally like on autopilot, I was like, I want to be from, I want to have a Jewish home, I want to keep Shabbos, I want to keep kosher, I want to have guests, and I want to inspire people now. I was completely irreligious at the time. So the fact that like I still wanted that was like, I didn't even think about it. When they asked me, I didn't even like really think. It just came out of my mouth. It was like my subconscious was speaking. So she said to me, she was listening, and she said, okay, great. So you're never going to get that. So I'm like, that's really encouraging. She's like, if you continue what you're doing, you're never going to get that. You cannot just think life is going to work out the way that you want to and not be held responsible for your actions. Whatever you're doing now has an impact on your future. So just something to think about. And she didn't say it in like a mean way. She's just saying like, it's not feasible. Your dream will not be feasible if you keep on doing what you're doing. So, and I knew she was right. So it really freaked me out, and I really understood. But I wasn't ready, and also I was scared that I was gonna be like, I don't know. I knew Hashem wasn't a bad person, I was afraid that like I didn't know where to start. So I asked for a sign. I was like, Hashem, send me a sign. Like, I don't know, I need you to show me that, like, you'll love me no matter what, and you'll accept me no matter what. So after that meeting, I left, and then I went out partying, and drank myself stupid, and then woke up the next morning and forgot the conversation. And so a year later, when I was 17, I was in shul. It was more of a hangout at that point. And I wasn't dressed super tsanua, and I was, I think I had like a beer in one hand, a cigarette in the other hand, and I heard a few older guys like speaking outside the shul, and like I was standing right next to them, and I heard them saying like, that they weren't religious, and then they became religious, and this like really piqued my interest. So I said to them, I don't understand. Why would you choose to be religious if you didn't grow up in a home where you had to be? Why would you put those restrictions on yourself if nobody was forcing them down your throat? It was like the most bizarre thing to me, like why on earth would you choose that? So they said to me, they actually all grew up in very anti-religious homes, and they went to a Jewish school that didn't have much Jewish anything, but they had this Jewish history teacher, and they were telling me how he would just sit there and speak to them about Hashem and about Yiddishkeit and about the privilege of being connected to a God and the privilege of being born Jewish. And I just gave them a different insight. And for so long they had been told that like Judaism was you have to do this and this and this and this and this, and they've never really seen the beauty behind what it could be and what a relationship you could develop. And so they said that they started speaking to this teacher, and like over time they developed a really beautiful relationship with him. They said that we used to sit under the tree and speak to them and just answer their questions and love them and care for them, and just like he had such like a warmth and a presence and an ability to really make Judaism out to be what it truly is. So after that, like during that year, a bunch of them got a bunch of the students, I think there was over 100, got very interested in Judaism, and a bunch of them ended up becoming religious. So I was like, this is my sign. I'm like, I need to speak to this person. Like, I'm looking for a connection. I don't know where to start. He somehow managed to inspire people that were very against Judaism. So let me sit down with him, let me speak to him and see what he has to say. Like, I'm open. So I said, can you give me the teacher's name? Can I get in touch with him? Like, I would love to sit down with him. And they said, we can. And I said, why not? And they said, he passed away a bunch of years ago. So I'm like, great. So I'm like, okay, well, can I have his name? I'll look him up. They said his name is Gabriel Platzko. And I went completely white. I started shaking.
How many years before?
Had he passed away?
Yeah.
He had passed, I was 5, so this was 12 years.
Okay.
This was, so they were like quite a bit older.
They were 14 maybe at the time of the story.
I
said they were like 26.
I was 17. Right, so they were,
So they were all not married.
They were all, married, not married. It was more like, I don't even know like who they were. I just know that like we had a conversation that changed my life. So I really was like, I had such 2 completely conflicting feelings. The first was like this pride, like, oh my God, I'm his daughter, and like, he helped so many people, and then on the other hand, I was like, I'm his daughter, and look at me. Like, I was so humiliated. And I remember walking home, and I was like, just tears running down my face, and I felt so grateful. Firstly to my father, I was like, Tati, thank you for coming back to save me. And then the other was to Hashem. I was like, this is a sign I needed. And you knew it would speak to me, and like, you gave it to me. And I went home, I threw out all of my mini skirts, my pants, and Baruch Hashem, it's been an uphill. I mean, it's been up and down, but hope like mainly on the up. And really, throughout my life, there have been so many challenges, and there has been so much bracha. And when I think about it, I'm telling you, like, I was speaking to my husband the other night, and we moved to Israel on our own. I mean, my in-laws are here, thank God, but like, we didn't have anything. It was really tough financially, and like, we figured it out on our own. And still, with all the ups and downs, I genuinely feel like the luckiest person in the world, because I honestly feel like Hashem is just holding my hand through life. I really do. And sometimes we see it, and sometimes we don't. There's a mashal of there's a story of a man, and Hashem showing him his life. Like, he's walking along a beach, and he says, like, you know, yeah, the footprints, and he says, like, you know, if you see two, he said, like, those set of footprints are yours, and those set of footprints are mine, and we're like walking along. The hardest times of his life, there was only one set of footprints, and he looked at Hashem, and he said, like, how could you abandon me? Like, I knew that you had left me, and he said, I was carrying you. You didn't realize it at the time. And I really do think that Baruch Hashem, we've been giving, you know, a lot of difficulties, but also a huge amount of blessings. But while my story is a unique one, and while I think that, you know, everyone's story is different, I think that a huge reason why I came back to Yiddishkeit was my parents, was my mother and my stepfather. They never, ever, ever made us feel like it was either us or Judaism. They never made us feel like if we didn't abide by their rules, they would no longer love us, or they would no longer respect us as human beings. And now, again, they didn't, you know, they didn't know everything that we were doing, but it wasn't the point. They gave us a real feeling of unconditional love. And to me, that was the most important thing, because oftentimes people say, like, well, why is there so much anger towards religion? Why is there so much hatred? Well, if you put a girl into a room and you scream and you shout and you yell at her for wearing pants, she's not hearing the fact that you're yelling at her for wearing pants. She's hearing the shouting and the screaming. So everything is being, you know, it's the sounds are being completely drowned out. What you're saying is being drowned out by the sounds of disapproval and disrespect and a withholding of love. When a child is going through some, and I'm speaking to you as a teenager, because I really feel like if teenagers could say this, if parents could understand this, then if we can somehow find a way for parents to understand that we live in a generation and a society nowadays where kids are going to be kids. Kids are going to do things regardless of if we approve or not. We live in the social media generation, so kids are doing whatever they want, whenever they want, and I'm not saying that you need to approve of everything that your kid is doing, and I 100% think that parents should voice their concerns and their, you know, opinions, and it's interesting, I heard someone saying, and I thought it was such a brilliant thing, she said, when her kids are going through a hard time or they want to talk, she says to them, do you want me to listen or do you want advice? And very often our kids just want us to listen, and we're like trying to give advice, but all they want is to be heard. And very often when they are feeling heard, they're open to hearing advice because they feel like it's a safety. Like, okay, I'm able to express myself, so let me ask this person to help me. And it becomes you fighting against the problem together instead of them dealing with an issue and you dealing with the separate one. And my mother was telling me that she went to, like, there was a very prestigious woman in the community, and her son was completely off the derech, and my mother was like sitting there and she kept on saying to like the son, you know, like she kept on saying to my mother, like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, like my son is just like, yeah, he had like, I don't know, tattoos, or it wasn't, she kept on apologizing for her son. And my mother said to her, she said, if you continue doing what you are doing, you are going to kill your son. You are going, and if not, you're going to kill any chance of a relationship. This is no longer about him. You apologize apologizing is about you. It's about how people see you. How people, will say like, did you do a bad job at mothering? Did you do but it becomes about the parent and it doesn't become about the child anymore. So often when we like speak to kids, right, and we're like telling them for the 100th time about our morals and our values and what we, you think those kids don't know? They know. They've been told it their entire lives, right? They've been told it again and again and again. If you lead by example, that's when you can have an effect. If you're telling your kid about Abbas Yisrael, right, and you're teaching them, you have to love every Jew, you have to love every Jew, but you don't have to love the Jews that are not keeping Shabbos and not keeping kosher and wearing pants, and the second that you start doing things that we don't necessarily approve of, well, then we don't love as much, right? And very often in homes where there's a kid that is going off the derech or is struggling or isn't, then that child gets the most attention, right? Because they need the most attention. Except that a child's innate nature is to need and want a connection to their parents. So when the other children see, oh wait, my brother's acting out, he's, doing crazy stuff, but he's still getting attention from my parents, well, let me follow in his footsteps and do the same thing, because clearly that's the only way that I'll get attention from them, right? Otherwise, they're just on the sidelines. They're invisible to whatever their older sibling is doing, right? And not only that, what are you teaching your children? What are you teaching your children if you're saying to them, we'll only love you if you do what we approve of. And if you don't, well then, hands off. So of course these kids are being raised in a generation where they're resentful of Judaism because it's their enemy. They're like looking at all these laws and these rules and these restrictions, and they're seeing it as a reason for why they no longer have a relationship with their parents, or why their parents won't sit down with them on the couch at night and just talk to them, or why if they bring up a conversation that's uncomfortable, their parents run in the other direction. We have to remember that the issues that we're dealing with as with our teenagers.
I just want to say something about social media.
Yeah.
That we just want to keep our kids safe. So when you add into it the word smias and boyfriend and Shabbos, then the kids get all confused.
100%.
Or when you start yelling at the kid because he was in the mall at a certain time, then as I've seen it happen, and then they just get confused, and then they're not safe.
And not just exactly.
No, social media is just like you have to focus. It's just safety. Like,
right, 100%. So that's why I was speaking to my sister. Right, and listen, I don't know what the right answer is with social media because it's a massive, massive, massive issue. And I have teenage sisters and I was like speaking to them about it. But the truth is, they're going to be on social media either way. Let's just call it what it is. We can say, no, danger. I had Facebook was cool when I was younger, and I pages of fake names and this, that. If a kid wants to do something, they're going to do it. So if you know about it and you leave that line of communication open, then at least you have some sort of an impact, right? So your kid has social media, so you go to your kid and say, listen, social media is too hard of a thing, it's too difficult for teenagers not to have it these days. It is, it's too difficult. It is the strongest Yetzer Hara right now for teenagers. Not just for teenagers, for adults as well. It's another world, right? So it's interesting. I have my own theory on social media that I was thinking the other day. Social media has only become a really big thing in the last couple of years, right? And I feel like, I don't know, this is just I was telling my husband that I'm going completely off topic. My students are always like, stop going off topic, finish what you were saying. I brought the same book to school 4 times in a row. 4 weeks in a row, we haven't yet opened it. I think that the world has gone crazy, and we just keep on seeing, we saw with Corona. Everyone saw Hashem's hand in Corona. It was impossible for you not to. People that had a huge amount of money were suddenly losing all their money. People that were completely healthy were dropping dead. I'm saying everyone was very aware of the presence of Hashem. And then there was Kolin, and then there was Miron, and then there was those buildings, and just one thing after the next happens. I feel like Hashem keeps trying to remind us he's there, and then we forget, and then he reminds us, and then he's there. But it says that before Mashiach, the whole world will recognize Hashem. And I feel like social media is really helping that, because everyone is aware of what's going on in the world. you can't like look at what all the news and be like, there's not a God. It's crazy. It's like insane what's going on. So I think that's why social media is around. That's my own opinion on the matter. But with social media, right? So you have these kids who are going to be on social media. Now you can say to them, listen, I know it's too hard for you, so let's figure out a way that you'll be happy and I'll be happy. I understand you want to be on social media. Can we please make your page private? So you can't, not everyone can see your page, just you can see your page. Would you be okay with, you know, only having girls on social media, you know? Or would you be able to limit screen time? Let's say you have like a box and when you come home, you can be on your phone for 20 minutes and then let's put it in the box so that we can have family time. Like, there are ways of going about things, right? Without causing like such conflict. And I was speaking to someone and she said to me, like, so there's a few points. I told you I lose my papers and then I forget everything. And if anyone has to go or I'm talking too long, please,
What do you teach?
So I teach an orly. If any of you know, open an orly. It's phenomenal.
Is it new?
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah, it is. Avi Levin. So he has a boys' school and he also opened a girls' school.
Is it a high school?
It's a girls' high school, and it is the most incredible thing. I'm telling you, they're changing lives. Like these girls are like happy and excited to go to school. It's very, very small. There's like 20 something girls, but they're growing. I mean, they just had 6 new students come in this week. Like they're growing like crazy. So okay, so it's a little bit of like an interesting story. So I really, 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 my desire is to work with teenagers and to teach and to try and help them the best way I can. And so I approached Orly and I said, you know, I'm looking, I basically woke up like 4 months ago and decided I'm not taking on these database entry jobs anymore. I can't. I'm not doing it. I can't look at computers anymore. I want to work with people, and I've always known I want to work with people. So I called Orly and I asked if they're hiring. They said they aren't and they don't have the budget to. So I said, listen, let me just come share my story, and if you like it, then, you know, no strings attached, you have to pay me that. So I told them my story, and then they called me the next week and asked me if I come speak again, and then they hired me, and so I go once a week, and it's so amazing because it's such an incredible school. So I have like a completely free range of what I can speak to the girls about. So my class is really a place where the girls open up about anything and everything, and just can speak and just. I think that so many of these girls. Yeah. And I said to them, that's what I said to them, and they said that you always go off topic. I'm like, let me ask you a question. I said, I don't know about you, but the classes, so well, every week it's different. But we actually spoke extensively about social media. Like we spoke a lot about it. And I said to them when I first walked in, I said, the classes that I gained from the most in school were the classes where we went off topic.
Oh, yeah.
Were the classes where we spoke about anything and everything. And I was like, that's my class. We're going to speak about anything and everything. And the girls really enjoy it. And it's not because I'm such a phenomenal teacher. It's just I think that these girls need an outlet to speak, to have someone who will sit with them and express themselves and be able to just talk about anything. I mean, I spoke to them about like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case in class the other day, and we were like, so and they're like, you like, and I'm like, yeah, but I still know what's going on in the world, and you know, I think it's not so daunting for them because I'm not like normal. I'm someone they could relate to. So anyway,
what book were you bringing into?
So I was trying to figure out. First, we were doing the whole social media thing. And by the way, I'm like realizing when I teach now, these girls are so insightful. They have so much to offer. And that was the other point that I wanted to say, was that oftentimes parents make the mistakes and the things that their children are doing determine how they see them as people. And you have to remember that our children are our children. Like they have so much to offer. Like they have fears, and they have things they get excited about, and passions and hobbies. And yes, we might not be able to understand everything that they're going through or relate to everything. We didn't have the social media issue when we were younger, right? Just like our parents probably struggled to connect with us on certain things. But like if we found common ground and we sit with our kid, like I was saying to someone, like we usually have these long conversations with our kid because what inevitably happens is that we usually find out about what they're doing, and then we sit them on the couch and we're like, where were you this time? I'm telling you, I got into so much trouble as a teenager, and I just remember like, you know, being called to like the bedroom or the couch and like being like cross-examined, and I'm like, I was like, you know, and like it feels like you're trapped, and you also like, there's no feeling of safety. And what if we had those conversations that our kids are wanting to have, but not coming from a place of like, you did that? But go to them and just have a conversation about anything, about something you have in common, about something that you don't have to get what they're going through. You have to listen to what they want to speak about, because their entire world. And yeah, go ahead. Okay, so I feel like it comes up from like so much pent up emotions and like keeping it inside. Like, I wonder what would happen if like you went to your teenager and said, okay, today's your lucky day. You get to sit down with me on the couch and speak to me about whatever you want. You can tell me anything and you won't get into trouble. I won't react negatively. I'm just here to be a part of your world. And like actually just sit there and listen to them. And so many times kids just need to talk. I'm telling you, I work with teenagers, and like they're just like, when they start, they can't stop, because like they're desperate for somebody to understand them. And even if you don't understand them, just to be there. And I think that people often use Judaism as a reason for why their child is disconnected from them. So there's two stories that I wanted to tell, which I love. The first is that so there's a father and a daughter, and they're walking next to each other, and the daughter's wearing like short shorts and a t-shirt, and the father's wearing a shtreimel and a bekisha. And they're walking along the street, and one of the father's friends said to him after, he said, aren't you embarrassed like walking with your daughter like dressed like that, like in front of your friends? He's like, so the father looked at him and he's like, isn't she embarrassed? She's walking next to me. Look what I'm wearing. Like I'm wearing like a shtreimel and a bekisha. Like she must be like the perspective of like, it's it's unbelievable though.
Yeah, he should be proud of himself.
But why aren't they like that? Why?
He's amazing.
The feeling.
Their societies are so narrow.
So judgmental.
It's so judgmental, but if for 1 second we forget.
But he's a hero.
Yeah, he's amazing.
What he was saying is like, she's normal when I'm crazy.
And not just that, she's a human, but feelings and emotions. And yeah, she has a perspective as well. And the other one was that someone went to a big rabbi, I forget who, and he said to me, I want to take my daughter to a baseball game, and there's non-kosher food being sold there, and I know she's going to ask me, am I able to buy the food for her? And the Rav said, 100%. And he said, okay, and my daughter and I want to take my daughter like to the movies and shopping, could I buy her jeans or like something? And he said 100%. He said, you can pretty much do anything to maintain a relationship between a father and a child, or a mother and a child. The word aim, okay, mother, it comes from the word emunah. A mother has to have faith in her child. When a mother doesn't have faith, or a parent does not have faith in their child as a human being, that child is never going to have faith in themselves. And I think one of the reasons why I was able to, Baruch Hashem, and this is 11 years, I just want to give you like a little bit of a glimpse. 11 years after I sat, not 11 years, how old am I? 27. I'm 28, sorry. 11 years. So 11 years after, so just to give you guys like a little bit of a thing, I know everyone's getting tired, so I'm going to try and hurry up. I'm sorry for keeping you. But, so after I threw out my pants and my skirts, I just had to come to seminary. And the only thing I had a really tough time with was I still very much struggled with my self-esteem. And I really defined my self-worth based on how guys saw me and how much attention I was getting. And no, don't worry. So the one thing that was really tough for me to give up was dating. Well, dating or hanging out or whatever. So the first night I got to Israel, I met my husband on the bus. My first night of seminary. It was a really productive year. This is 11 years ago.
That's amazing.
No, not 11 years ago. What? Yeah, we've been married 10 years this year.
You're 28, you got married at 18?
I got married at 19. Yeah, I got married Baruch Hashem. I'm telling you, if I tell you the bracha that we've been given, like, so I met him back.
You came back to Yiddishkeit and got married within a year.
I really believe that when you give things.
Was he also like a bit more chill?
So he was a total hangout, and he never had a girlfriend because he didn't want to like call it a girlfriend, but it was, I mean, a girlfriend. Just he didn't want the official title of it because he felt like his wife should be whatever. Anyway, so it was actually a funny story. There was a lot of like he was dating someone else, well dating. I was dating someone else at the time, and yeah, I struggled. I'm gonna be like, I'm speaking to adults, so I can say this. I struggled with. He was so cute. Like I was like, I'm gonna like. He was just really cute. So I actually met his friend, and his friend was like interested in me, so he added me on Facebook, and he wasn't great with girls, so he asked my husband for like help messaging me, and then like over time my husband's like, oh no, like I think I like her, okay, and then he like dulled down the conversation, and then I saw him a few weeks later, and we started dating, and there was one thing that stood out for me, other than like I was a teenage girl and like my husband was cute and like I was flirty. I was very, very struck by his kindness. His kindness was like something like I had a friend of mine who was whatever. She had like a very, very. He treated everyone like they were gold, and it reminded me. Tomer Torah.
Ah,
yeah. Oh yeah. So
Or is that like a typical seminary?
it's like it's like for like
modern?
yeah, modern.
It's a non-basic or basic.
Yeah, it's not really based on, there's no real like
Not like modern.
you have to really use it. Yeah. So my husband was in yeshiva right here.
It's absolutely tops.
It's a great seminary.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was an AJ.
AJ, what's that?
At Terrace Yerushalayim.
They don't have it anymore?
No.
No.
It was like a breakoff of TJ.
Yeah.
So he was like in yeshiva like right near.
So you were like this chilled couple that got married at very, very. He was your age?
So he was 19.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom was, my parents brought up my dad. Oh my God, I'm not joking. I was so scared to come for Pesach. I was like I'd never doubted so much in my life. Like I was like terrified. And my father said, if you stop speaking to him, and you still are interested after like after seminary, then
Good luck.
yeah. So we did the best we could, and we somehow
Still kept on eating
well, we say no, but and after seminary, my parents flew him out to South Africa, and we got engaged, and he is, and I can say this without a single doubt in my mind, the most incredible person I've ever met in my life. We opened a shul here in Gimel. It's called the Barbershop Shul, because we had a lot of Bar Ilan students. My husband is unbelievable with teenagers and just people in general. And there was a lot of students that were coming, and we really wanted them to have a place where they didn't have to wear black and white or feel like they didn't belong. So we started the shul in my house, and now thank God there's like, I don't know, probably like. There's a bunch of people that come at shops. I don't know.
30
and 50, yeah. It's in a barbershop.
Yeah, with my husband too, that picture.
Oh, really? Yeah, they have really great conditions. It's like, that's true. So, I think subconsciously I did, because I said that, and we immediately started having students.
When your mother and your stepfather and grandfather, did you still have like a big open home with hosting?
So we did. Unfortunately, they got divorced during Corona, which was a lot of fun. But he's as close to my father as he really is not a beautiful person, and he actually when we first moved back to South Africa and when they got married, he asked us. I asked him. He was my father's student, so he knew him. He knew how incredible he was. And I said, like, could we put pictures up of my father? And he said, I love having pictures of Tzaddikim up. And he went to each of our rooms, and we each have a picture holding him. He's amazing. No, he's not. He's a business. And and he's now a very eligible bachelor.
When
Depending on if you know anyone.
when you were in school, you said you only got to trouble you in your father's office.
My stepfather.
Yes.
Yeah, him.
So he's not in chinuch?
He's not in the
Was he doing
He was just yelling at me for whatever I was doing. He was just, no, in my principal, I got it, and then also my dad. Can I just, give me 1 second, because I wrote down points, but I just, 1 second. Okay, so there's a few things that I'm gonna look at my notes for this, because I'm gonna forget, and also I spent hours on this, and I'm gonna feel like it's wasted if I don't actually use it for something. So,
Your time has been very well spent.
thank you. Thank you. So while our kids are going to do whatever they want to do, and there are two things that we do have control over. And as helpless as it might feel, there are two things that we do actually have control over. The first is our belief in Hashem and our belief in our child. First of all, that we believe without a question, and I tell this to people, and I'm telling you, if there's one thing that get from this talk, it's this. When you want something, don't ask Hashem for it. Thank Him for giving it to you before it happens. Because when you say thank you, you're creating for yourself. My mother-in-law told this to me, and it changed my life forever. I could sit here the whole night and tell you the insane stories me and my husband have of like crazy things working out, and like I'll just tell you one. We like my husband needed tools. My husband's, as she puts it, handyman. He is incredible. Just letting you all know, he's like completely OCD and super midyack, and he's amazing at what he does. So just in case you're a Brian Kaplan. So he really needed these two big machines, like to build pergolas, and they're very expensive, like $5,000 each, and very, very expensive. And he's like, Hashem, thank you for finding me a way that I have no money. Like it was like we had no idea how we were gonna do it. And out of the blue, someone calls him, who had met my father-in-law the night before, and he said, my name is so-and-so, I'm a handyman or a Shemesh. I'm going to dentistry school in Syria. No, Syria? What? Cyprus? Maybe Cyprus. That would make more sense. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Cyprus.
PTSD like that.
He said, I'm going for 5 years to become a dentist, and I have these two tools that I really want someone to keep and use for when I get, it literally just like fell into my lap. Now I think the biggest reason is my husband is like the walking epitome of emunah, and like he really never stresses about anything, so it all falls on me. No, I'm joking. But he's just like, he really does really truly believe that Hashem will give us everything, and Baruch Hashem, he saved my life more than once. I almost passed away giving birth to my 2-year-old, and that was another incredible story. Like, just he really does get a huge amount of bracha. So the first is the belief in Hashem. That like, Hashem, daven. That's all you can really do, daven to Hashem. Don't say, please make my child. Hashem, thank you for showing my child that I love them, for showing them the best, for making them happy, for making them successful, for making them appreciate you and see you and the goodness and the kindness. Because Hashem is the perfect parent. A perfect parent never reacts out of anger, right? A perfect parent never ever reacts out of anger. They never withhold their love, and they never judge. A perfect parent never withholds their love and only shows unconditional love. A child always, the ideal of a perfect parent is to only react, not to react, but to respond and to teach out of love and out of kindness. Nothing else. That's what we should all be doing. And I'm not saying it's easy, and I know you probably have seen it like, who does she think she is? She has no teenagers, and she's going to completely completely say she was speaking garbage when she was talking to us, because I don't know what it is to have a teenager. But I'm telling you, speaking from the perspective of a teenager, that all your children need is to feel that unconditional.
It's very hard to unconditionally love a 5-year-old.
I know, tell me about it. I know.
You're good.
I know, listen, it's,
You love the 5-year-old.
But I want to tell you, but by the way, can I just, I'm only going to play this because I promised my daughter that I would, first of all, because she wanted to help me with my speech. And also because I think that it shows a lot of our children and the purity. And I just wanted, before I play for you, I was speaking to my son, and we were having like a really tough time about something, and it was like a really traumatic night for him. Like he was really sad, and we didn't punish him. He had consequences for his actions, but we were like, and it was just it was like he had done something that was really not okay, and he knew that he had disappointed us, and we were like, speaking to him about it for a long time, and then he was crying. He was really, really sad, and then he went into bed. And bedtime is usually like, it's 6 o'clock, like, okay, 6, like, whatever, for you guys, like, 11, but just bedtime is usually chaotic.
Way before.
And I went into his room, and I climbed into his bed, and it's not something that, unfortunately, I do often, and I'm trying to do it more often, because it's, I think, very important, and he curled up into my lap, and he just lay there, and he just hugged me. Now, he was really sad. He had gotten punished or consequence, whatever. He knew, like, we were upset, but he knew it was coming from a place of love. And my husband, who was amazing at dealing with the situation, he the first thing he said to him when he started the conversation, he said, "Do you have any idea how much love for you I had the first day that I met you?" And then my son was like, "No," and he's like, "If you only understood how I feel about you now." He's like, the biggest problem we had was like there was dishonesty happening, and we said like, if you're dishonest with that, our job in this world is to help you become the best you could be, to help you achieve the best you can achieve, right? And we can't do that if we don't know what's going on. If we don't know what's going on, we don't know how to help you. So I think that it's what so I need to play this voice note because my daughter made me promise, and also it's so innocent. So she said to me, I was really nervous about this speech, and I'm so happy that only a few of you came. It's so much fun. No, it really is. First of all, I was way more nervous before. And
I wish you were you're very,
I think we all know that.
you're very advanced.
Thank
I
you.
think that it's not mistaken that when you go through something like that and you're younger, it really does give you a lot of ability.
Yeah. I think, like I was telling you before, I think that there's
that challenge.
I think that there's a loss in going through something tough and not doing anything good about it. Like, why go through things and not try to help people with it? It's just like a waste. It's just pain for no reason. So I need to play this voice note that my daughter said I should play because it was so cute, and I promised her also, and there's only a few of us here, so I don't feel like, 1 second, here. She sent it to my husband. So basically, she came over to me, and I was very nervous about the
How old is she?
She's 6. She's ridiculously cute. And she,
No
she really
bias.
is. She's like,
No bias.
I think, my friend Michelle is over there, my very, very close, one of my best friends in the world, and she can objectively say, she made us stop hanging out because her daughter liked my son too much. She can tell you that they're cute. Okay, so here, I just want to play this for you. Listen, that's not to say it's easy, because it's not.
How old is she?
She's 6 years old. One sec here. Sorry. I have an 8-year-old. I have a 6-year-old. I have a 8-year-old, 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So yeah. Okay. So I was really nervous about it. So she said, "Why are you so scared?" So I said, "Because very often we're the most critical of ourselves, right? I think we can all. I don't think there's a single day I've gone to sleep and been like, oh, I should have done that. I messed up. We're like our biggest critic, right? But we don't realize that we don't really have to do that much to be good mothers. We really don't have to do that much. Like my husband's pretty OCD, and I like things being clean. And for a long time, I was like, okay, the kids are home, but like I need to be in the kitchen. I need to do this because like this has to be clean. Lunches have to be there. And then when I realized it, I was like devastated because I was like, I've wasted so much time, and they're not going to remember how clean the house was. Like they're not going to care. they're gonna, like, you know, like my kids still speak about Corona because I know, like, there were lots of ups and lots of downs, but we were home the whole time. And we really got to spend quality time together. And it takes so little for us to be good mothers. It really does. And so this is like my daughter, we were just having a regular day, whatever. And so she said, why are you nervous? I said, I'm nervous because I often feel like I'm not a good mother. And how could I sit up there and speak about being a good mother when I don't feel like a good mother sometimes? And so she said, give me your phone. So I'm like, okay. And you know the kids these days know how to, like, you know, WhatsApp and whatever. And she went to the other room and this is what she and then she said, I have to play it.
Michali's daughter. My mother said she's not the best. If you guys think she's the best, please tell her about she's please. Just you guys should know that she's the best mommy. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so she's really cute.
How young?
She's really cute, and it was so sweet, but it was so, it really resonated with me.
Email us yours.
I was like, I set emails up for all my kids. I would like to say I sent more than one thing ever, but I haven't. But
Make sure you save it when she's a teenager.
yeah, no, I have to, yeah. I actually took a video of my son the other day, because I know life is just gonna get harder. I know that we are just at the beginning, and I was like really trying to
No, say thank you, Hashem.
Baruch
It's
Hashem.
gonna get easy.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
Don't say that. Thank you, Hashem.
Oh, right, yeah. Thank you, Hashem. See, it's funny, my student actually told me she started doing that, and she said, you have no idea how many things started working out my way. Like, I'm telling you, when we start getting involved in okay, I'm just going to tell you one more story, and then I'm really going to end. I know I like get on that rabbit trail, I just need to tell you guys a story, because this is the other thing. When we rely on Hashem, this is what I was teaching my students, and I think, like, for me, the biggest thing, my goal in teaching this class is mainly to also, I think that there's things that we can learn as teenagers that could really, really benefit us in life. And I think that a lot of those things aren't spoken about, and they're avoided because they're not necessarily the most comfortable conversations to have, right? So, like, before I got married, I had no idea how hard marriage was. I was, like, really, really surprised when, like, I'm telling you, the first, like, few months, I was like, we're getting divorced, like, this is, like, not normal. Like, it's just, yeah, what the heck? Like, this is not what a relationship is. Why? Because my relationships were based on TV shows, and I also grew up in a, you know, instant gratification generation where I wasn't used to investing and in something for a long period of time in order for it to work out. Teenagers that can be discussed. Like I said to my students, I said, if you could choose one personality trait that you could perfect now, before you get married, and you could go into marriage being perfect at a certain area, what would it be?
Great question. Patience.
Patience.
No, because you're not yelling.
What else?
Patience. Yeah, just not yelling. Like things will work out.
It's a great question to ask.
It's a very interesting.
Trying to understand the other person's view.
Right. But communication.
But if you count to 10, what?
But I'm saying there's so many.
But if you count to 10, the other person will with time, the other person will come to understand your side. You will come to understand the other person's side.
When you respond, then you don't react.
Yes.
When you're like responding to what they're saying, you're not reacting to it. Right. So for me, I had a lot of, I have arrested development in probably most areas. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like when you're stunted at like a certain age in your personality because of a trauma. So like,
Did you say that?
arrested development. Yeah, like you can't progress, or like you're like very immature in a certain area because of a certain thing. So for me,
Now I understand myself.
so no, but really, so many things.
Really?
So many things come from our childhood that we don't know are actually impacting us, right? So for me, a very hard thing was I always felt the need to protect myself. So always, my entire life, I was always like, okay. So when I was, getting into arguments with my husband or disagreeing about things or whatever, then he would try and say something, and immediately my defenses would go up, and I would not hear it. And I also, when I am often in a space where I'm so consumed by my emotions and I'm flooding and I can't I'm just so overwhelmed with my emotions. I can't think of him in that moment. I'm really trying hard to work on that. But I remember one of the first months that we were married, I was really upset about something. I was like crying, and I was really upset about something. And he said to me, "Do you love me?" And I was like, "What? Why do you do that?" Of course not, no. Of course I said yes, but like very resentfully. And then he said, "I want you to do something for me, and I'm asking you a favor." So I'm like, "Okay." And I was in a really bad place. And he's like, "I want you to stand up and dance." And I was like, "Are you high? Like what? Are you asking? Like why? What?" And he's like, "I just want you to get up and dance." And I was like, and I honestly, it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. Everything I've been through, actually taking that step to stand up and dance was so hard for me, because it was like doing an active step of removing yourself from what you're going through and being able to step outside of yourself and focus on something else, on someone else. So it's a very, very hard thing to do. And often when we get upset at our kids or whatever, what we're going through, it's like we go blind. Like we can't see beyond our viewpoint. Except that, like, we as humans are like horses, like running in a race, and we have blinders on, and we don't see the big picture. We don't see that there's just so much more, there's so much more potential, and so much more beauty and growth. And the last point I want to say is, like, we're given children, and I think very often we kind of see our children as our responsibility. Like, you know, they're our children, they were given to us to look after and to, you know, to have the best relationships and to, you know, whatever, be the best people they could be. But instead of looking at it as like a responsibility, look at it as an opportunity. Like, I have this opportunity to connect to this child. I have the opportunity to notice the small things that they're doing and to comment on the things I'm proud of. And, you know, if there's like a girl, imagine the difference if a girl walks into, you know, I was saying, like, if there's a girl that wears pants at home, right, and her parents have other children at home. Now, of course, the parents have a right to not want that daughter to wear pants in the house. Why? Because they're going to have an effect on the child. Right? But there's two ways you could approach it. You could either go over to the child and say to the child, you know, I really hate what you're doing. I really hate that you're having a negative impact on the children. We have standards in this house, and we have a way of doing things, and we have beliefs and systems, and you're coming in and you're disrupting that. You're being a bad influence on your younger siblings. If you want to do this, do it outside the house. Don't bring it in. Have some respect, right? As opposed to saying to your kid, listen, I understand that you feel this is something you have to do, and this is, you know, and I know you're going to do it anyway. We have certain ways that we've decided to raise our family, and we really, really would love and really appreciate if you respected that, so that your siblings can make their own choices when they're older. But we want to give them the best opportunity to live the life that we're living, because, well, we're living it because we believe it's the right way. So when you come in and you're wearing pants and stuff, it's like kind of swaying towards the other direction. So please, like, I'm not saying don't wear pants, because I know you're going to do that anyway, but maybe could you just try not to bring it in the house? And then the next time she comes in with a skirt, go over to her and give her a hug and say, I really appreciate that you took
Wait a minute,
what
wait a minute.
said.
If she comes in with a skirt.
Yeah.
Because even if it's couched in flowery, pretty language, bottom line for that girl could be, oh, so really what I'm doing isn't good enough for you.
So I think that how it's phrased is really how that kid is going to perceive what you're saying.
Sometimes
Sometimes they aren't open to hearing.
Sometimes they want you to prove.
Right, yeah.
Words are already.
That's
So
right.
then my recommendation, honestly, you know what my recommendation would be? Because often kids go further because they're trying to get a reaction.
There was a lot of attachments in a very good relationship prior to that, correct?
Say that? Well, not necessarily, because fine, let's say you have no relationship with your kid. Let's say you have no relationship, you're at odds with each other. I want you all to do something tonight, because you all have teenagers, right? I'm not saying, there are times in your life where you can really make a difference, and I hope that go home to your kids tonight and just tell them the things that you love about them. Don't bring up the things you're disappointed about. If you're not having a relationship with your child and they're still wearing pants despite you asking them not to, ignore it. Ignore it and focus on something they're doing right. Because they don't feel like they know you don't approve. They're not wearing pants thinking, oh, my mother decided that I can wear pants today and it's fine. They know you don't approve. They're wearing pants in front of you, oftentimes to get a reaction. Give them a reaction, but a positive one. Say, don't focus on the pants. I noticed that you were watching your brother earlier, and I didn't even ask you to, and I really appreciate that you gave me the break. That I just wanted to say, and then I'm going to let you guys go. So I think that there's a few things that we can keep in mind when we want to respond to our kids, right? If they're telling us something that doesn't resonate with us or that we don't approve of or whatever, okay? So the first thing that we have to keep in mind is that the child will probably continue doing whatever it is that they're doing either way. So is adding fire to the fuel for the parent or for the child? Is it because you need to vent and express your frustration and your anger and protect your own image? Or is it because you genuinely want to help the child and you want what's best for them? That's the first thing. Because one will come from love, one will come from anger, right? That's the first thing. The second thing was, how can I respond while still making my child feel good and feel valued? Still, you can say you disapprove. There's nothing wrong with saying you disapprove. But they have to walk out of that conversation knowing that no matter what they decide, they're still going to be worth something. That's the second thing. And don't make it about them. Make it about their actions. And yeah, I think that point, that like if a kid feels like they're not seeing them as a bad person, then again, they won't see religion as their enemy, and they're going to start respecting you more because they're going to feel more respected by you. You know, if they start feeling seen.
What are you going to say about children having an effect on their younger siblings?
Well, what do you mean? Like, what should I have you react? Whether you respond?
Yeah.
So I think that it depends on how you approach it, but I think that you can also, your other kids also know you don't approve. And if you're giving the older kids more attention because you don't approve, well, then they're going to do the same thing.
You mean negative attention?
Yeah, negative attention. They're going to do the same thing. The kids are going to follow in the footsteps because everyone wants a relationship with their parent. I was working with a girl, and I was told ahead of time, she has a very bad relationship with her mother. Do not mention it, don't bring it up. I didn't have to. She mentioned it multiple times in our meeting. Probably 5 or 10 times she mentioned her mother. My mother one time told me this, it's so subconscious, we don't even realize, but I promise you that feeling of knowing that your parents believe in you and respect you and have faith in you and love you, it's everything to those kids. The third thing was that if we were that child sitting there, struggling with the same things that they were struggling with, how would we have wanted our parents to react? What would have made us feel safe? That's the third thing. And then again, the other thing I said was about that we often feel like we need to bring up, well, those aren't our value systems, and that's not what we do in this house, and that's this, and that's that. Your kids know everything. They're smart, they're really, really smart, and they know exactly what you expect and what you want from them. You don't have to keep reminding them. All it's doing is creating resentment. You want to start having a relationship with your child, communicate with them about the things that aren't only negative, that are also positive. And I think that by keeping these things in mind, you're allowing for a relationship with your child, and you're really making your child feel, if a child feels like a parent does not believe in them, they'll never believe in themselves. They won't. They can have 100, 200, 300 people around them. I had people that were, telling me all these things, and the only reason why I ever believed in myself is because I knew that my parents believed in me. Always. So that's kind of what I wanted to share.
Wow.
I'm sorry it went over. I don't know how long it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm a culture, but my oldest is 11. So I still have a lot of research to do, but I'm curious, do you know how much of your journey you think you're going to be willing to open up with about your kids? Because it shows like we're all flawed, we all have ways of connecting to Hashem at different times.
So I think that if you're smart about it, then you can let them know. So I'll give you an example. My son, my 8-year-old, was riding his bike, and there was a group of younger girls. Now he's already started noticing girls. So he went past them, and he did this twist or flip or whatever, and right in front of them. And so I went over to him after, and I said, Gavi, did you just do that flip to impress those girls? So he's like, no, what? Girls never. I said, Gabby, did you just do that flip to impress those girls? He's like, maybe. I'm like, I want to tell you something. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about. I said, the reason why a man and a woman get married is because we're attracted to each other and we're interested in each other. That's why girls marry guys and guys marry girls, we hope. So it's very natural. That's how Hashem created us. I said, can I tell you a secret, but you can't tell anyone. So he's like, yeah. I'm like, do you know, I used to like boys. I'm like, I had crushes when I was little. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, and that's okay. But you should do your best to not touch girls. Like okay, so once the conversation is open, then you can start saying, we try not to touch girls, we try, like, once they feel like they're not restricted, then they'll be much more open. I don't believe in ever going an extreme in either direction. I think it's extremely detrimental to children in general. That if you're not allowed to wear this, all that's going to happen, I promise you, is that they're going to do 10 times worse what they were going to do before. Because they so desperately want the attention, and they so desperately want that connection, that they know how angry that you're going to get if they do X, Y, and Z. And they're going to push the boundaries further and further until you're actually giving them the attention, not for the negative things, but for the positive things. So to answer your question, I don't know how much of my journey I will share. I'm careful with what I share because I don't want ever to impact my children. But at the same time, I really do believe in being real and being honest, which is why, sharing my story, I went through, 6 years of being completely irreligious. Is that the best thing to put out there in a community that you're a part of? Maybe not. But I feel like there's more of a benefit than a downside to it. So I do. But I guess we'll see. I'm hoping I have a few years until they start asking those questions.
Just get rid of all the photos.
Yeah, I did, along with my husband trusting. My husband made me. Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence. Thank God we did before social media, so everything's pretty much deleted. Anyway, so I hope that you guys took something from tonight. I really appreciate you all showing up and being here, and it was an honor to speak to you.
I wish, obviously it wouldn't be possible given your age, but my teenagers are grown, they're all adults. I wish I had heard you say this 15 years ago. I really do.
It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna have grandchildren when you're teenagers. Don't worry.
Oh, I want to tell you though, but after hearing this, I feel like I want to go back and apologize to my daughter who, yeah.
Also, Hashem gives you
for how I reacted when her skin was too short, for instance.
Hashem gives you knowledge when you're meant to know it. You weren't meant to know this when she was a teenager. You were meant to learn it now. You know what? If you want to apologize, you told her.
That's true.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
What was your mother's perspective, let's say, when you were going through your hard time?
So she was definitely a lot stricter than she is with my little sisters now. I definitely paved the way. They definitely did take a hard line with me. I got into trouble a lot, and there was some really tough times, and I kept most of the stuff to them. Most of the stuff from them.
Your mother wasn't the way you were talking. She didn't always do everything according to what you're saying.
So she didn't.
Human. She was normal.
Right. She was. Oh yeah. If I made it sound like she was.
Because why not?
Because
I'm not saying I make mistakes.
we're meant to.
So what I'm saying is that despite that, Hashem came out with it.
You know me for a few minutes, just to know me a little bit. No, I'm joking.
For me, she struggled.
She really struggled. Oh, for sure. Also, she was having her own struggles, and also she was my father was this image of this person that brought people towards Yiddishkeit. I can't imagine my late father, yeah, and there were a lot of times, but I never felt like she wasn't proud of me as a human being, ever. She never made me feel that way. She always made me feel like I was a valuable person, and she was extremely disappointed in my behavior.
Wow. But you were very involved in the family. You more had your own life with.
I was very social. So I was out a lot. I was also not keeping Shabbos at the time. So like I'd go to my friend and then we'd go out.
Right.
So
you had like a big social life.
I was very, very social always. I love people. And
So you were connected to the family, but just not.
yeah,
like,
we always had a close family.
Everyone's going to the zoo and I'll go with my
But there are,
family.
I hear everything you're saying,
Yeah.
but there are those kids that didn't have the unconditional love and,
Yeah.
didn't, and had the strict. When they came back, it might have been a bit harder than Johnny, but
It's
they
unbelievable.
also, yeah, but it's not like, yeah.
But those are
When
the
I
stories.
to feel like despair, they made so many mistakes as their kid ever coming back. There are those that didn't have that lovely, fuzzy, oh, I love you as a person, I just don't like what you do. I don't think most parents were not educated and didn't have the skill set to know to do
I
that.
always say it's not for them, it's for me. It's
Yeah.
not for them. It's at the end of the day, I have to answer to how I behave, not how they behave. That they have to answer to.
Yeah.
I know, I don't take for granted for 1 second the way that I was brought up. I know how lucky I was. I know that to have a mother who loved and cherished me the way that she did, I know that's a privilege, and I don't take it for granted for 1 second. And I know that there are so many kids that don't have that, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to speak, was because I really believe that a lot of these children are going through things, and it starts from the top. I believe it starts from the family, and I believe that, no, I'm not giving the family responsibility, by the way, for like what the kids are going through. Kids go through horrible stuff, and I'm not at all. I hope that's not what you think I'm saying. I'm not giving you guys being like, oh, your kid is your fault, you didn't give them that. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that to help them on the journey through going through whatever it is that they're going to go through, do it as a partnership and not as them on their own. That's what I'm saying.
I think we also have a very, in my experience, unique community in Ramat Shemesh that at times we can also support each other. Like the way that 14-year-old spoke to me on the park bench today, she might not speak to her mother that way necessarily.
Right.
And you know, it's just we're all a little more like open and aware and trying to do our best here.
Yeah.
And just be aware that like we're all one.
Yeah. And by the way, like I'm speaking like this and I'm like, there are 3 things that I try and keep in mind when I like, because I was always very hard on myself as a mother. Like I was always like, making them feel happy. It's not hard. I started doing the same with my kids. Yeah, right. You appreciate like.
But it gets hard, like I don't want you to.
Different type of hard, but yeah, I know.
Like, oh, people say it doesn't get hard.
Yeah.
You know what they say?
Small children, small problems, big children.
Yeah, but so did my sister-in-law like a few years ago, and I was
Yeah, there is, I agree, for sure. Yeah, well, what do you?
We just need to celebrate each other. Because